What's going on? We're live. A little bit of a lag there. Not sure what happened, but we're here. All right, here we go. Week 16. Um, Congratulations to everybody who got any best ball uh, entries. I have a few. Hopefully, it's going to be a good week for that. Got some weird situations here. We have some really good teams. Looking at the slate, we've got some really good teams and some, what would be good spots, but the weather is going to play a factor. Or is it? Not really sure, right? So it's one of those things where it's like, is the weather going to play a factor? Is there going to be, you know, places to go? Like the main one, obviously, we're talking about is Buffalo and New England, and the other one we're talking about is Detroit and Chicago. Detroit's playing their second game outside all year, I believe, maybe their third. Um, Buffalo is going to be potentially a snowstorm. I'm going to pull it up right now and actually take a look to see what the weather is going to look like in good old Orchard Park. But basically, just been kind of snowing every day, it looks like. Have some family who live back there, texted them. Yeah, right now, snow shower. Okay. So it's Friday night. Let's see what the weekend looks like here. So Sunday has now changed. So it's going to be cold, right? But partly cloudy, only 7% chance humidity. That changes everything for me. That doesn't matter for me with Josh Allen. It's not going to be snowing. Um, it's just going to be cold, right? And for me, that's fine. I mean, these guys can play in the cold. It's not really, it's going to affect maybe like the kicking game a little bit, but I don't know. Last week, Josh Allen was one of the lowest owned quarterbacks, and I did really well last week as I just said, well, if no one's going to play Josh Allen and no one's going to play Lamar, then I'll just play both of those guys, right? So that's definitely interesting. Before we get started here, let's just take a quick check of the weather in Chicago because that's our other kind of big game here where we've got the really, really terrible Bears. Um, so again, the forecast has improved. Sunday, 34, partly cloudy. It was supposed to be raining when I looked at this early in the week. Obviously, the weather could change, right? But it's just like one of those things where who knows. But these weather reports are very encouraging. So I'll be interested when we go take a look at the ownership, right? So let's start off with quarterback here. So if we're looking at the ownership, quarterback ownership is really funny this week. So obviously we got to have the conversation about Michael Penix, right? 4,500, 16% owned, highest owned quarterback of the week. He's playing the Giants. Don't disagree with it. I think it's a fantastic spot, but I think there's a way to kind of flip flop in that game. It's really disgusting, but we could talk about it. Anthony Richardson playing the Titans. I don't really love that, to be honest with you. I'd rather just play Penix for the same ownership and save $900, but I that's kind of where I'm at there. And then from there, we just talked about it last week. I mean, how Josh Allen is going to be 2% owned. Has anybody been watching football? Like, I understand that he's $8,700, but like, what are we talking about here? Jared Goff, 2% owned, 6,800. Drake May, 5,800, 1% owned. Did anyone see what the Lions offense did against the Bills last week? I mean, come on. So let's start at the top here. I guess it's gonna be one of those weeks again. Josh Allen, 2% owned. Jalen Hurts, 1% owned. Joe Burrow, 3% owned. Three of the top echelon quarterbacks in the whole NFL. No one wants to play him. Two of them have rushing upside. Okay, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but it makes my decision very easy. Like, people have more interest in playing Kyler Murray in a 30-degree game outside than they do Josh Allen, who has, you know, something absurd like 5 rushing touchdowns, 6 passing touchdowns, and like 750 total yards in the last fucking like 3 weeks. Like I just okay. So that I mean that makes my decision pretty easy for me. Um, I think that as long as the weather is going to be fine, I actually like taking a shot at Jared Goff. I think especially if the weather is a little bit colder, it's a really good game to stack Goff. Now you could do the quad stack with Goff, Gibbs, Laporta, and St. Brown. That's expensive though. I would prefer to just go with Goff, St. Brown, and Laporta, or just Goff and St. Brown probably. If like you made me choose, um, don't really have any interest outside of that. I think that this Miami and Niners game is going to be pretty sneaky. I know that the Niners have the number 6 DVOA defense. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the DVOA stat. I think it's a flawed stat overall, but I think that you know the Niners got embarrassed last week, and they're statistically have like a 1% chance or whatever. This is not a team that's going to roll over. Now, will they be able to do anything against Miami? I don't know. I mean, they haven't looked very good. But Brock Purdy's gone for 3 points, 26, and then 2. So I mean, if that's not like your like ultimate GPP play, then I don't really know what is. I think I like two on the other side too. I'm going to be playing a version of each of those quarterbacks with a stack on both sides because I do think that game could be a good one to target. I mean, I don't see how you don't play a little bit of Drake May at 5,800, and especially if it's not going to be snowing. His stacking options are just so cheap. You can go with just May and pop Douglas, or if you want to add Douglas and Henry in there, I mean, I think that those are all good options, and you can still play the run backs from Buffalo. Now, it's a little bit harder with Buffalo because it's a little bit harder on who to pinpoint, but really, if you're going to play that, I think you just got to play Cook and Shakir coming back on the other side. We're going to go from there. Aaron Rodgers ended up being the nuts last week. Congratulations to people that played him. Devontae Adams was very nice in some best balls. I don't think that I can get to Rodgers this week. Here's the really gross one. Mac Jones and Aiden O'Connell. I actually think it's a good thing for Brock Bowers that Aiden O'Connell is back. I don't really have a whole lot of interest in playing that stack, but Bowers by himself, I personally think the way it's been looking, I think it's a 2 tight end week. I don't think a lot of people are going to build like that, so I think that that's somewhere I'd like to go. Here's the gross one. Penix, obviously, 4,500, get it. It's the other side of that game. Drew Lock, terrible quarterback, but he runs the ball, okay? You just need to stack him with Neighbors. Then you play him segueing into running back here. You play him with Bijan, who, in looking at ownership, is only going to be about 11% owned. And that is way too low for Bijan against the Giants, right? So that's a good way to get weird with that stack. You don't need it, but it's definitely, if everyone is going to Penix on the other side, it's just that we talk about it in DFS all the time. It's just that flip right over to the other side, right? So everyone's playing Penix. Everyone's going to play London with Penix. Everyone's going to play London and Mooney. People are apparently still playing Kyle Pitts. Not really sure why. But just one of those things, right? So I think Bijan's probably my favorite guy for the top. I also really like Saquon. So if you're going to play somebody like Drew Lock, you can jam those two guys in there together. It is very possible to make that lineup. I even like Saquon Barkley is getting no ownership against the Commanders, who are just like not that good. Chase Brown, 21% owned. That's a tough one for me. Jahmyr Gibbs, 35% owned, showing up in the optimal 36% of the time. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's a bad play or whatever. You could play it. I think if you're going to play Gibbs, I think I would rather play it within a stack because that's the way to get different, and nobody is going to do that, in my opinion. Yeah, that's kind of is what it is. A chain 7,400. I think that's a nice play. I like it a lot more if I want to make sure that Tyreek plays. I think it popped up as questionable. I know Waddle is not playing, um, but I just like that a lot more if he plays. I think Kyron at 7,200 is interesting. A lot of people are going to James Conner. I get it. I would rather go to James Cook at 2% for $100 less. Yes, I know that other people are getting involved, but James Cook, we've seen him do it on multiple occasions, have these big explosion games, and that's what we're looking for with DFS, right? To try and take down these big GPPs, we need to have someone that's going to go absolutely off. And if I can get James Cook at 2%, I can get Josh Allen at 2%, and I can get Khalil Shakir to add with him. That's something I really like this week. You don't need to do that, but I think it's if you're playing in a real large field tournament, that's definitely a way that not a lot of people are going to go. Like that's 100% for sure. Um, Jonathan Taylor, see if he drops the ball again this week. I don't think that he will ever do that. Everyone's going back to Chuba with good reason. Jonathan Brooks, God rest your soul. Really terrible stuff. But Chuba's back in. Killed everyone last week. I thought people were kind of maybe going to go away from him this week, but he's still, 19, 20% owned right now. Aaron Jones at Seattle. I think that's probably one of the more interesting plays. I think that game is kind of getting ignored a little bit. It's going to be a little bit rainy in Seattle from what I looked at on the weather report. Um, but it could be interesting. I really don't know. A lot of people are going to Brees Hall, and I just can't get there. Um, I would rather play somebody else. Like I have no problem playing Jerome Ford if you want to at 5,600. I think that's a fine play. Um, I think DeAndre Swift versus Detroit is an interesting play. Tyrone Tracy has popped up on the injury report now. He was limited in practice, but Singletary got a lot of run, and I think he's banged up a little bit. So I think that probably plays into it a little. The Niners running back, if you want to play a Niners running back, I mean, good luck. You could play Patrick Taylor at 5,200. He's probably going to get the bulk of the carries. Keyshawn Vaughn and Israel Abanikanda are both probably going to be active for the Niners. No fucking clue on what any of that means. Honestly, if you're looking for Niners to play this week, I'd probably just go. I mean, I think that, I haven't been as a Niners fan, haven't been very happy with him, but I think you just go back to Devo. Um, he's going to be pretty criminally low owned. He's only 5,200. Yeah. But we'll get to him here when we flip over. Jamar Chase, pretty good option this week, 10%. Just expensive. We can't play all the expensive guys. Everyone's hammering Puka. If everyone's going to play Puka at 8,000, the expensive guy I want to play is Amon Ra. I just think that he's in a total smash spot this week. Um, I really like Tyreek Hill if he's active against the Niners. I just think the Niners have always traditionally had problems with the small, quick, fast type wide receiver. Their personnel matches up a lot better against the bigger, more physical wide receiver. Jerry Jeudy, I think, is a good option. I just really wish Jameis was playing because I have no idea what this guy DTR is going to do. So I would rather just go down and play Brian Thomas. I really don't care that Brian Thomas is going to be like 18 to 20% owned. They're playing the Raiders. The Raiders are fucking terrible. You saw, geriatric Kirk Cousins do something against them. Neighbors, again, smash spot for him. I really, really like what I'm seeing out of the usage from JSN. And if Gino is going to be hurt, that traditionally means when I've seen Gino play hurt before, Jason's only coming at like 8 or 9%. He's had like 10 catches the other week. Um, when Gino's hurt, he tends to get the ball out pretty quickly. Um, and JSN would be probably the main benefactor of that, I would think. So at 10%, again, I think Khalil Shakir might be one of my highest owned players this week at 5,900. He's the one that you can easily bet on that offense. You're not paying overpriced for him. He's a PPR guy, and if he falls into the end zone, he's in the 26, 27 plus range for how much catches and stuff he's racking up. So I definitely like that. Juwan Jennings, definitely an interesting play. Jacoby Myers, over 100 targets, still hasn't dropped the ball. Just, I mean, fucking absolutely phenomenal. I think he's probably a great play if you just need like a one-off there. Ridley, man, it's really attractive for Ridley, and he's at a price point where you kind of have to consider it. The Colts aren't very good. They're playing inside, which I think is good. I just have a problem with Mason Rudolph trying to throw him the ball. But he's only going to be 3% owned, so I will probably be somewhere around 6% on Ridley this week. I think he's pretty attractive. I think Thielen at 8% is fantastic. DJ Moore is garnering 20% ownership. No thanks. If DJ Moore blows it out of the water at 5,700, then that's great. Then I just won't have any of it. It's just not something I can participate in this week. Jameson Williams, 3%, 5,500. I just think that I think that the Lions are going to score a lot more points than a lot of people are thinking. Darnell Mooney put up a big goose egg last week. He is the guy that I think that if you're playing Penix stacks, you have to prioritize Mooney in. I really like a Penix Bijan Mooney stack. I think that's a lot different. And then just with the neighbors run back, I don't think you really have to do anything else. Debo Samuel. So people are going to play Debo a little bit, 12, 13%. It's hard not to when there's literally no running backs playing, and Kyle Shanahan has shown he's going to continue to give him carries, even though they're the least effective carries I've ever seen uh, from a running back or from a wide receiver playing running back. It's just not effective plays. Maybe it will be this week against Miami. I will have a little bit of Debo. I've just been playing him a lot, and he's burned me most of the year. So if I get off now, he'll probably just go nuts. I don't want to do that. I think Roma Dunze is probably the guy that if you're taking a shot at a bear would probably be my preferred. Here's the guy. We're just going to go right back to him. Westbrook-Ikhine, 1%, hasn't scored now for a couple of weeks. We're fine going back to him. Pop Douglas, Demario Douglas, 4,400, 1% owned. Cheap stack with Drake May. Move on. He's fine as one-offs as well. I like the volume that he gets. I like the upside that he provides. I mean, at 4,400, if you get 15, 17 points, you're going nuts, right? From 4,400. So, really good option there, in my opinion. Wan'Dale Robinson is also interesting if you're going to try and get away from the neighbor stuff. He's only 4,100, going to be a part of that offense. But again, Drew Lock sucks. So I'm playing Drew Lock, but like as far as throwing the ball, I think you just want to concentrate on the volume that Neighbors is going to demand. Going down here a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, the optimizer continues to like booty, and like I think that Olmid Zaccheaus is a guy that's really interesting with Noah Brown now on the IR. Terry McLaurin's going to get a lot of attention from that Philly defense, and Zaccheaus is my preferred option over De'Ami Brown. I mean, it's kind of pick your poison between one of those two. I don't want to play both of them. I would rather play Zaccheaus. He just got a little bit more volume over the past few weeks. Going down, there's not a whole lot of real deep value this week. Jamison Crowder was a little bit involved at the dead man at 3,000, but I would rather just pay the extra 500 and play Zaccheaus, or the extra 400 and play De'Ami Brown. Moving on to the tight end, really love the position this week. I think Bowers is a smash with O'Connell back. He's just he's not very good, but he's a little bit better. I think Trey McBride's in a pretty good spot. A lot of people like that. I really like Kittle. Again, the Niners are going to keep fighting, and he is going to be the target hog. If you don't want to play Debo, I think you just go Kittle, Jennings, and Purdy, and then kind of move on from there. You can play A Chain and Hill, or just A Chain, or just Hill on the run back. See where you want to do there. I think Laporta is a pretty nice option this week. Only going to be about 8% on 4,700. Um, Dalton Kincaid, I do like it a little bit. It's just tough to pinpoint, right? He could have one of those really smash games. I would rather pay $500 less than pay Hunter Henry in the same game. You're just going to have better opportunity for target volume, I think. And how I think that game is going to go is that, yeah, you're probably going to have to get a lot of those guys, or a lot of volume out of that cheap 4,100 kind of thing. Brenton Strange picking up a little bit of ownership, not enough. Play him, $3,500. The Raiders are terrible. He's gonna get a ton of targets. Um, I full disclosure, I am playing a Mac Jones stack. I know it's kind of disgusting. It's just I'm just gonna do it and see what happens. Won't be like one of my biggest stands of the week. Think that Okonkwo is interesting, but he's got to catch a touchdown to be of any value for you. So that's kind of tough. I can understand. Ben Sinnott is the other one that's garnering a little bit of ownership here. I'm fine with actually going back to Jatavian Sanders. Carolina just had a terrible game last week. Jatavian Sanders is a guy that I think, is a dynamic player. He's going to be a good player in this league. 2,900. I think you could do worse. I don't know, maybe not much worse. That's about it, though. I've got no interest in Granson. I've got no interest in Wiley. I've got no interest in Conklin. Um, that's about it. So moving on to defense. So there's some interesting options this week at defense. So I think the Vikings, if you can get up to them, are definitely the smash spot. You're playing a hurt Geno Smith against a line that is probably starting their third string center and a team that has the highest blitz rate in the NFL. I typically don't like paying up for defenses, but the Vikings at 3,500 just seem like an absolute no-brainer to me. I would much rather play them than the Bills. I would much rather play them than the Lions. I just think there's going to be more opportunity, created. It looks like right now, I thought more people would be playing the Colts at 3,000, but they're only going to get about 4% ownership. I suspect that's wrong. I feel like they're going to get more ownership than that. So I'll just have to check back. Right now, the Commanders are the highest owned defense at 2,700, which I don't understand that. Chalk defenses are always a fade for me. That just makes it that much easier. And then Patriots are going to be the second highest owned just because they've DraftKings has broken a new floor this year so far in defense and gone to a defense that's 2,100. So we haven't had one that cheap. It's purely just I just need to jam it in to get something else, and you're fine with taking like a 1 or a 0 or something like that. I mean, right now they have a base projection of 1.5 points. You're really just looking for the jam, but like I'm okay with playing the Giants against a rookie quarterback. The Giants have a good pass rush against a guy who's never started before for $300 more, who have like legitimate like 10 to like 13-point upside, get a pick six. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities there. So that's kind of like where I'm going. I like the Giants. I can see the case for the Patriots. If no one's going to play the Colts on Sunday morning when I pull this back up, I'll definitely play some Colts. Really, I think the best play, just like raw points value play of the week, is the Vikings. I know it's expensive, and I know we talked about a lot of guys that I like that are expensive. So it's going to be hard to get to in certain lineups, but the ones where I have the money this week, I'm probably not going to leave $300 or $400, $500, $600 on the table, which I like to do sometimes. But I don't think enough people, if they're only going to be 2% owned, I'm fine with spending that money to go up to make that my differentiator rather than, you know, playing the the Colts for 3,000. I would much rather, if I have the $500, I would much rather play the Vikings. So, um, I mean, so my bold call for the week, I've got a couple. I think my bold call for the week is going to be that Kittle kind of shows out again, and we're going to see a 26 point plus game out of Kittle. That'll be my bold call for the week. Favorite stacks, based on the ownership, I don't know how you can't stack, Josh Allen with one guy. And for me, it's Khalil Shakir. It's my favorite option. Um, my second favorite stack, just because it's so weird and everybody's going on the other side, is going to be a lock and neighbors, and then you just run it back with Bijan. Um, I definitely also like. I'll give this as like I'm giving a couple here, but I like the whole Niners and Miami game. Bang, what's happening, buddy? I like that game. I think the sneakiest stack of the week probably might be, it looks like it might be Detroit, because everyone has just been listening to all the DFS podcasts. Oh, the weather's going to be terrible. The weather's going to be, I mean, it's going to be 35 and clear. Like, I get that, like, the Lions don't play outside much, but I don't know. I think that Sam Darnold with Justin Jefferson and like maybe an Aaron Jones or an Addison, whichever one you want to do. I think that could be the sneaky stack. I'm certainly going to have some exposure to that. Let me just check on the weather in Seattle. So it's going to rain in the afternoon. So 92% chance PM rain. Cloudy with rain developing later in the day. 90% chance of rain. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of a bummer. I'll probably still take a stab at it. It makes me kind of like the Aaron Jones play kind of that much more. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of a bummer. Hopefully maybe that changes a little bit. But yeah, I think if my two favorite ones, obviously Josh Allen. My other one, if no one's going to play the Lions versus the shitty Bears, I think you just got to sack up and fucking do it. Because like they just lost. They want to get back into win now mode. They're not going to take it easy on the Bears. They kind of want to probably prove. Dan Campbell is one of those guys that he's like Captain Narrative Street, and like, yeah, we got to prove that like this whole playing outside thing ain't shit. And they're just going to try and pound the fuck out of them. So, and I don't think I like Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm going to play some Jahmyr Gibbs, but only in Lion stacks. I don't think it's valuable to be playing Jahmyr Gibbs this week as a one-off, because everybody's going to, right? And he catches a lot of balls. So imagine if he catches a 50-yard screen or something like that from Goff, and you don't have Goff to go along with him. It's going to be hard to get there based on his ownership. So I'll leave you guys with that. Really appreciate, we got 30 people watching, 38 people watching right now. Really appreciate you guys. We'll put this up on the podcast feeds. Like, subscribe, comment, leave a review. Really appreciate it. Good luck this week, and enjoy the glorious weekend that we have coming up. I put out a tweet the other day, this morning. Yesterday was the first day of 18 days straight of football. Just a fantastic time. Hope you guys see my elf on the shelf. Where is it? Over here. Yeah, he got stuck in the cookie box tonight. Tough scene for the elf. Hopefully it's not a tough scene for everybody. Good luck with best ball. Good luck with fantasy playoffs. Peace.